what roles do we think universities should play in nurturing entrepreneurial talent and, supporting students' interest in startups? We're just talking about all the layoffs and how potentially they're unprepared to start their own businesses and whatnot. What role should our universities and then, maybe government organizations like Futurepreneur take it past that? But what role should university play in nurturing that talent and letting people know that startup is an option?
I have so many opinions on this, so I'm going to shut up because I need you guys to talk first. Otherwise, I'm going to go. I'm going to go crazy.
Just to qualify, I can't talk on behalf of Futurepreneur for this. This is sort of my. I just can't. Or any organization I work with, but from my own point of view, right, as a University of Toronto student, as someone who has children who are going into post-secondary studies, I think you almost need like an entire culture shift. I don't know that any post-secondary, I'm not just going to post this on universities. I don't think any post-secondary is in a place where they can do that, because here's my personal lived experience, not tied to any brand I work with, belief, is that universities are no different than any other institution we have in Ontario. And it's very difficult to break out of institutional thinking to think entrepreneurially. So to answer your question, Craig, I think it's a culture shift before anything else. Before putting in the Entrepreneur Center, before getting funding, it really is a culture shift. You almost need like a subsidiary of the university that's entrepreneur school, and that's all it is. But that's just my personal opinion. It affects and reflects no one that I work with. Maybe my mom. she agrees.
Will, do you want to jump in? Because I'm going to go off.
Yeah, totally. I agree so much with what Bob said too, and I think that this stuff starts before university. Certainly, I have some friends who are doing some amazing things in Texas, doing entrepreneur things with kids, and I think all that shit is so cool, and starting people to really understand how this career path that is so viable, but as we said, culturally is not understood that it is viable, and is seen as either too risky or too selfish or whatever the sort of judgments people have, or like, okay, you're an entrepreneur, whatever, buddy, does that mean like you just spend all your day at the pool? But what I do think is that the organizations, at least the ones that I know, like DMZ, the Queen's Entrepreneurship Competition, I just spoke with them last week. Like it's really incredible seeing these like 19-year-old kids and the ideas that they have. And, I think there could be a really good pipeline, like just purely from a cynical money-making perspective. Like if the corporations that sponsor, as kind of predatory as they are, we know they just want to descend on these brilliant entrepreneurs and suck up all their ideas and patent them. But like, whoever, whether ethically or not supporting startups, they can go to those places and say like, sponsor pitch competitions and like go and talk to the founders and see the ideas that they have and support them. And there's an ROI there that maybe, that kind of, I think that not that I know at all, but I think that kind of exists already in like certain MBA programs. It's like, or law schools or whatever, right? Like you go to this school and then this company comes and they do the fair and then you go work for them. And there's a kind of mutual benefit between the university and the private sector that industry or the different companies that they're going for. So I think that there could be a lot more of that in Ontario. I think Queens is doing it really well. I think, TMU with DMZ is doing it really well, but yeah, more of that, please.
It's changing. Is it changing fast enough? Like with things like Dr. Sean Wise being professor of entrepreneurship at Ryerson now, TMU, Toronto Metropolitan U.
I forgot about. Sorry, my apologies. He is a brilliant culture shift person. Yes,
absolutely. But I think it's not invasive enough, and he's doing that startup school thing that's free that people can go after, and they do record videos, and there's pizza and stuff. It's very popular series, and I think they're still doing it. I haven't checked the 2024 dates. We usually promote each other because done some work with them in the past. And Enactus they're doing good things, but it doesn't. It feels like there's an entrepreneurship program, but it's not necessarily down to the point of view of built in. Like when you're taking accounting, you're not taking accounting from how do I run my own business point of view. It's how I do books for another person. It's when you're, you know what I'm talking about, rather than saying it's not built into the classes. Like if you're running a company, this is how you would do things in all the classes.
Yep.
You know, if you're taking an HR class, it's not about you running a company. It's about you working at HR for another company.
Yep.
So nothing wrong with that. It's just that there's a mind shift that needs to happen around ownership of the idea and the whole process to say, okay, this is how it works in a big company, but you know, this is how you could do it on your own. And these are the things. So you start thinking about, I can do this. I remember one of our early meetups, or one of our early startup drink events. I was talking to a young lady, and her founder friend had brought her, and she just couldn't understand someone starting a business from nothing. Didn't understand, like, why would anybody do this? And like, so I'm saying it's not for everybody, right? This whole mindset isn't for everybody, but if you can plant the seed early enough, so I'm not having these conversations about why would anybody do it or why would they want to do it. It's a natural thing. It's a natural option for anybody coming out of school that, hey, I've got these options of starting a business. I've got these options of doing this. I've got these options of going somewhere else, rather than if I'm not in the entrepreneurial program, I'm generally going to go work for someone else.
Yeah. And I think that's interesting when you frame it that way, because then and I hope you don't mind when I look down, when I get anxious, I use my cube, and I'm just getting anxious on this topic because it's like, oh my God. Because I think what's really interesting is that from what I've seen, right, on occasion, I've been very blessed to go into a lot of these post-secondary classes to talk about entrepreneurship, right, with various, and what I think is, like, it's interesting, those classes, because when I get them, they're still thinking linear in a linear fashion. And what I'm trying to do in one class is get them to think in a non-linear fashion. So to your point, Craig, I think the embeddedness of it that's a better way than what I said, and a less culpable and firing way of saying what I said, which is like, I think when we talk about culture shift, it's also embedding it in the curriculum. Like, how are we not just visiting one class in the semester, but how are we making it a regular part of the work that we do? So I really want to honor what you said and like really put poise to it, because that's what I find. I go in and I teach, and they're still thinking in a linear fashion, and it's hard to break them out of that cycle.
And just before we hand it over to Alex, part of the reason I like that, because she's got a lot to say, I like the whole understanding what it means from a business owner point of view, is we have a disconnect now. A lot of people might say, feeling of entitlement, people coming out of university and all that, they don't have an education from the perspective of an owner of a business.
Yeah.
What does this mean for payroll? What does this mean when you hire people? What does it mean if they don't show up for work? What does it mean if they don't have any of that perspective? Yeah. And if you went through an educational process and that was part of the curriculum, I think people would have a better appreciation for what it means to commit to doing a job, showing up for work, and understanding their overall place in a company.
Yeah.
Alex?
I'm so excited about this topic. I was like, where do I start? Goodness. I think, yeah, you've all said stuff that I think is just makes a lot of sense. It's very accurate. My little disclaimer, I am on the advisory board for Humber College in their entrepreneurship program. And I think, and I'm really impressed by them doing that. And also, Will, to your point, we've talked I've talked to the Queen's folks in the MMIE program. I think that they have different names. I actually did one myself last year. I did the Masters of Innovation in Entrepreneurship at HEC Paris. So I also I'm just very into these programs. The one at Queen's is highly reputed, and there's some really great programs out there. So I think what's interesting is that, I think to just touch upon what Craig, you were just saying, it's kind of interesting because to me, entrepreneurship is a skill unto itself, much like innovation or creativity. It's not necessarily, I think it can kind of be a standalone, and it's a skill set that you need to, as you were saying, you can learn the theory behind it, which is important to have frameworks and understanding. but there's the theory and there's the practice. So I think that there's been good progress the last couple years in the theory part, where we do see educational institutions, either formal colleges and universities, or a lot of, the accelerators and incubators themselves now are becoming like a good source of that. All the VCs who are offering some kind of collaboration with, groups like a Futurepreneur, for example, right? Or some kind of startup community that gives them a lot of foundational entrepreneurship and startup knowledge and education. So I'm happy about that, because I think there's so much more. Like 5 years ago, there was nothing. 10 years ago, there was nothing really. And there's now a ton. But I think the gap is kind of what Craig was talking about in terms of the opportunities to practice. So we've hosted a few student groups from the entrepreneurship programs. I've had a lot of students come in either as interns, or we've done similarly, I think, to Bob, what you were talking about. We actually consulted. We did a pilot last summer. We had 5 of our consultants go to one of the entrepreneurship programs and do live sessions with them, with the students. I got to go in and we did some kind of team building. It was a lot of fun. So that was really great. But I think, to go back to Craig, what you were kind of saying, I don't want to be a downer about it, because I do see good progress. I think 10 years ago, people didn't consider entrepreneurship even as a career path, right? You're doctor, dentist, lawyer, whatever it was, this was nowhere even on the horizon. So I think the fact that people are even thinking about it and interested is progress. But, even with the programs, like you mentioned, I think Enactus is a great one. The Knowledge Society is pumping out all these brilliant kids who are 10 years old and going to take over the world because they're so smart. There are a million programs that are really great now to help us unearth these fabulous, mostly youth, but it can be any kind of student group. But the challenge is that they, as you said, they don't really have any learned experience or any context, any practice. And so that's kind of I think that's where the onus becomes on us. And I don't know who the us is. So I'm kind of looking at Bob and looking at Craig, and Will, you do it too with your coaching, right? We all, in some part of this startup ecosystem, we all are interested in coaching and growing startups. And I think that that's something really valuable that we can all do individually and through our organizations, because I don't think that academic institutions can do that on their own. As brilliant and bright as they are, they're not, right? The profs are busy proffing. So they don't have time to be out in the field living the day-to-day to gain that experience. So I kind of see the opportunity as being complementary, I guess, between them, So and I think that's what's kind of neat and cool, is that there are a lot of opportunities now, at least in Canada. I don't know so much about the global community, but in Canada, there are a lot of programs like government grants and opportunities that are really meant to help education institutions, public institutions, and then to partner up with some private partners to co-deliver some services. So I think that I'm hoping that we'll see even more of that kind of funding and progress, an opportunity, so that then we can partner up and pair it, because I don't think that the schools can do it on their own. They also are tapped for resources. They don't have the time or the money, right? Colleges and universities are basically nonprofits, and none of them are running surpluses, or if they are, I would like to know their secrets. So, there's I think good opportunity there, but a lot of work to be done.
Fabulous.
On that note, I have to tap out and go be.
Oh my gosh, we're over time. We didn't get
Yeah, so why don't we wrap it up and not go to the fourth thing and say, Will, what are you working on? What do you got going on? What are you promoting?
I'm really excited. 2 things. One is, speaking of DMZ, I'm doing their masterclass tomorrow night. So that's at the Sandbox downtown. They do these amazing free networking / 2-hour workshops. I'm doing one called Develop a Powerful Pitch tomorrow night. If anybody's interested, totally free. The other thing, which I'm really excited about, I just finalized this with 111. I'm going to be doing my Powerful Pitch workshop with them every month, I think. Hopefully, we're going to do a couple pilot ones to see how it works. But the inaugural one will be February 22nd at 111. So if you follow me on LinkedIn, that's the best way to get in touch with me. And I can send you the information. It's still being worked out, but that's going to be the new iteration of my work. Yeah, you can find me at Out Loud Now or Will Greenblatt on LinkedIn. That's where I'll be posting about it.
Congrats, Will. That's very cool.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it.
Yeah, I'm gonna come check some out for sure. And that sounds,
Please do. Yeah, let me know.
And Alex?
I'm unprepared, so I did not think of anything. I guess what I'd like to promote is, drum roll, what we are very excited to be co-hosting with you guys, which is our co-founder match event happening on the lovely Valentine's Day. So I'm really looking forward to spending my Valentine's with all of you as my dates. And I think that's the one I'm most excited about, mentoringmagic.ca. Like, that's coming up. And Craig knows that we are also working on some exciting stuff in the, speaking of education, we're working on some stuff in the consulting and entrepreneurship education space, but too soon for me to say much more beyond that. Hopefully one of my lovely advisors and coaches here, Mr. Craig, if I can point in the right direction, oh, there's the auto camera, will be helping me work through some of the complexities of that. So hopefully by the next session, I'll be able to announce something really exciting from us there as well. Fingers crossed.
And Bob?
I am not working on anything, but I would like to share what my friends at Futurepreneur are working on, because again, I'm not representative of any brand or anything here. So I know Futurepreneur is working on this upcoming series of workshops called Owners Wanted. And the idea is to really help people understand how to buy their first business. Now, granted, we see that a lot in the tech space, but we're seeing that now fall towards the average mom and pop shop on that main street. And they're thinking, how do I buy instead of starting up, how do I buy a business? How do I buy an existing business? What's the difference between buying and franchising? So I think if anyone is interested, I don't know what the link is, so you're welcome to email me directly, bminhas@gmail.com, and I will connect you with the Futurepreneur team who is doing that. But they're free. I think there's one happening this Thursday where some friends from Deloitte will be there to talk about, how to look at buying a business. And then we're going to do another virtual one next month. And then And then in March, they're going to do a live one in Niagara Falls. So if anyone says, yeah, I kind of want to know more about buying a business, I will happily connect you with our friends at Futurepreneur. And I will, though, be joining your event in place of Alex, since she has other commitments on Thursday. So I'll be there. And and don't forget about our Valentine's Day event. Find love in a founder. I think that's what I'm calling it. So
that sounds great. Yeah, definitely. We've got a lot of stuff going on. Go to startupdrinks.com for our monthly networking investor drink event with Open Bar, Open Pitch. On Fridays, we record at 8 a.m. We record the Future Tech podcast on our YouTube channel, or you can just, subscribe to the Future Tech podcast. I also do daily episodes of Ask the Startup Coach, where I answer a single question that startups have along their journey. They're 2 to 5 minutes. They're easy to listen to or read. Also check out the Startup Talk podcast. It's all sorts of stuff. Some of these topics will be on the Startup Talk podcast, as well as interviews with startups. We talked about mentoringmagic.ca. That's a series of events we're doing with Consulta and Futurepreneur around mentoring. And the next one is February 14th, where we're doing a co-founder matchup. We've got some interesting stuff happening at that event. Go see the rest of it at TorontoStarts.com. We just launched a new web page, or new front page. That's great. If you want to work with me, go check it out there. That's about it. Thanks everyone for being part of Startup Face Off. And let me check. We got one more comment here.
I think
apparently the Lord shall smite us.
I was reading that.
By God is something that I don't look forward to.
Well, as long as the Lord can join us on our next event. Hey, by the way, I've seen this a lot, Craig. This event and these things that you do. No one ever says thank you, Craig. And maybe Alex.
That's true.
Well, I want to say thank you for putting this together, organizing it, figuring out the tech, inviting us, some of us last minute, and otherwise we would have had the right clothes on. But thank you, because I will tell you, from all the things we've talked about now, we are seeing a shortage of people making impact like the rest of you on this call. So thank you for making that time on a Monday evening.
Well said.
Look at Bob being the best guy. All right. No, thank you, Craig. He's right.
I got to
Good night, everyone. Thanks, everyone.
Good night. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex. Thank you, Craig.
Thanks, guys.
Bye. Thanks,
care.
everyone watching.
Bye.